Thank you. And now we just have the last of the startups, and it was supposed to be made by my 10-year earlier LinkedIn version, but unfortunately you get the current balding version of me making this presentation. I will time myself also just to make sure I stay true. So this is the latest spin out from Edinburgh Napier University, and what we're trying to solve is impersonation call fraud. And thank you for everybody who stayed back. We started with 150 signups, got 80 this morning, and the last 30 of you will get a big prize at the end in terms of drinks for 50 and food for 50. So thank you for staying back. I just wanted to kind of quickly ask everybody in this room, is there anybody in this room who's got an impersonation call fraud recently in the last year? Anybody who hasn't got one? So I will tell you a quick story about Charlie. Charlie is a retired school teacher. Last year, he got a call where he lost 50,000 pounds. He felt shattered and broken, and for the 2-hour socially engineered call that Charlie went through, his heart rate was at 20 points higher than what it should have been, and he almost died that day. Now, this is not just about Charlie and the kind of thing that happens. 3.65 million people in this country get defrauded every year. That's 7 every minute, 10,000 a day. So this is not an isolated incident. And unfortunately, it's not just Charlie who gets affected. It's a lot of financial institutions and a lot of corporates that get affected. In fact, the numbers are staggering. Over $1 billion was lost in just by banking and finance in 2021. People like Charlie and his family will never use that brand again. And there's a huge switching that happens once you're subjected to an impersonation call. And most people claim that the inability to use a phone anymore is devastating to be able to close deals. You just can't talk to your customers anymore. Unfortunately, it's getting a lot worse. And you all know about what AI is doing to fraud. In fact, Warren Buffett recently said that scamming's always been there, but it's going to be the biggest growth industry of all time. And if he could invest in it, he would, but obviously he's not. And 2023, we had fraud like where you had your child's voice coming up and kidnapping scams, one of the biggest things in the US. CEOs' voices getting cloned to fool employees. 2024, we pushed it up a notch because that wasn't good enough. So now you had deep fakes plus voice clones, and you thought you were talking to your CFO and you transferred 25 million out. That's the kind of stuff which is happening, and it's just going to get a lot worse. So, and of course, we have a lot of regulation which has come into place, and it'll be interesting to see how post-October 7th, what really happens when the new regulation for APP scams comes in, where 85,000 needs to be mandatorily reimbursed to victims. So what do we do? What does Lasting Asset do? We reduce costs related to fraud and authentication, and we help unlock new streams of revenue because now you can actually speak to your customers. Our product, we have 3 core features. The first is the business to customer, where an organization calls you, they can confirm that it's them calling. Individuals, person to person, you're speaking to your mom or anybody in the family, you can confirm that it's actually you and not a voice clone. And the third one, which is also very interesting, is where if you're speaking within your team, say in a Teams call, all you need to do is press a button and everybody in the call can confirm that they are who they are and no AI bots impersonating anybody. The simplest solution is the enterprise to customer authentication. In this hypothetical example of Safe Bank, if it's a genuine call, it comes through as green, and if it's a spoofed call, comes through as red. What I'm showing you here in this little video is on the right, Bob is calling Alice. The phone on the left is Alice. We'll get Bob on their typical screen, and pressing the Lasting Asset icon, it'll confirm that it is in fact Bob. Second illustration, Bob is not calling Alice. Bob is not calling Alice. So we're spoofing this number, but the caller ID shows it's Bob. But when you check using Lasting Asset, it shows that it is in fact a spoof call. So this is the absolute basic functionality, but we have a lot more other cool stuff we're doing behind the scenes. We can integrate into any app, any existing customer-facing app. I'd like you to think of this as perhaps an antivirus, which works behind the scenes for call spoofing. We already do this in our day-to-day lives because we already are using your phone in so many things. When you do a banking transaction, your bank asks you to go online and confirm it's you. We're just taking this into person-to-person conversations because we believe the future is going to be one where you won't be able to trust any call or any video. And this is why we've come up with this. Just to tell you a little bit more exactly what happens in spoofing. So call spoofing is where attacker uses the vulnerability in a telecom infrastructure to pretend that they are the caller by faking the caller ID on your phone. So you'll see it's Bob, but it's actually not Bob. And now in the new world where you can add voice cloning into the mix, it just messes things up. You will no longer get a phishing email. You'll get your CEO's voice first saying, I've sent you an email, so click on it. That's going to be the future, and that's going to cause a whole bunch of havoc. So our product allows us to use the recipient mobile phone, or we can even use Alexa as the recipient, or even a bespoke device that we're developing for the elderly who don't necessarily use mobile phones or smartphones. So 20% of the UK doesn't use smartphones, so they can have our device lying next to their landline. So when you call them, they can get to know that's actually you. So who are our customers? Pretty much anybody. Essentially, financial advisors, banks, defense, everybody needs us in the world that we're going to face. We've started with managed service providers. These are IT help desks. And the reason we went for this was because last year there was this fun episode where MGM Grand got hit, where the slot machine stopped working, hotel keeps stopped working. It all started with an impersonation call to MGM's IT service provider, which was Okta. And they didn't even use voice cloning. It was very simple, but it's just going to get a lot worse. So this is an industry which is going to be increasingly attacked. We've started with them because banks are hard to sell to for startups, and this is the reason why we chose them. Incredible team. I'm just the plumber. I'm the commercial guy. Don't ask me any technical questions. It's Zakwan and Bill who do all the smart stuff and thinking. But together we are a pretty comprehensive force, and we are the next spin out from Napier. As I'm running ahead of time, which is fantastic, and as any entrepreneur would do, I have an ask. So if there's any one of you in this room who thinks that you could utilize our solution, integrate with us, or know anybody who could pilot with us, please get in touch. Let's together solve this problem. A gloomy statistic is that 1 person a day is considered at risk of suicide because of the fact that they've been defrauded. So let's change that altogether. I'd like to end with the fact that we had some great news today. We found out this morning that we got £350,000 from Innovate UK. So it's a great day for us. So thank you very much. And that's the end of the startups.